Most closers are accidentally killing their own deals during presentation, and they have no idea. I've been reviewing clients' presentations lately, and they are all making the same lethal mistakes. They think that bombarding prospects with features and information creates value. What it actually does, it creates confusion and induces objections. Like a think about it objection, or like a you've gave me a lot. I have to process all of this because you gave them a lot. So in this video, I'm going to show you the exact presentation framework that gets a prospect excited to say yes instead of overwhelmed. This is even easier to communicate, it's less work, and therefore is shorter. And at the end, I'll show you a real call where I close a $5,000 deal using this method. But first, let me show you what you're doing wrong and why it's costing you deals. So let's say you go to a coffee shop and you ask for a coffee, and the person now starts to ask you questions. Okay, small, medium, large coffee. You're like, medium. Cool. What type of milk? Oat milk, goat milk, like cow milk, like lactose-free milk. You're like, oat milk. Okay, cool. What type of coffee bean do you want with the coffee? There's this type, and there's this type. You're like, okay, like which one do you recommend? Like this one. Okay, let's go with this one. Cool. Do you want whipped cream on top or without it? Yeah, let's put whipped cream. Okay, how much? Like a little bit, a touch, a lot? And at that point now, I guess you know what's going on. You answer and they say, cool, do you want cinnamon on top? Do you want cacao on top? Cool, do you want it with this package or with that package? And you get to a place where it's like, I'm not even sure if I still want a coffee. You know what I mean? Can you guess what's happening here? It's too many options. It's like, I don't even know. Just give me a coffee, right? This is exactly what we create in the mind of our prospects when we're presenting, and we're just simply vomiting a lot of features and a lot of information. That's how they feel. And it gets so bad to even a point where, in this example, they're thinking, I'm not even sure if I still want a coffee because of how many things you're just throwing at me. And this is horrible for you and for what your offer projects, because now we have a person having a feeling of confusion, frustration, and overwhelming associated with your offer, which is the opposite of what we want. We want people to feel excited. We want people to feel empowered. We want people to feel uplifted. But how do you do that? Well, that's exactly what this video is all about. But first, it's very important to understand that certainty, which is what we want in our prospect's mind, comes from clarity. So we need to be able to articulate our offer from a place of full clarity and from a place of expertise, because that's what's ultimately going to create this certainty in the prospect's mind. It's like a transfer of certainty. Plus, if you start stating features and benefits, your presentation phase simply gets longer. And I'm seeing presentation phases from my clients that are 15 minutes, 20 minutes is too much, and it induces objections. Number 3, and the reason why this old way of presenting does not work, is this. Imagine you go to a doctor, and now the doctor asks you a couple of questions, and now it's time for a doctor to prescribe and to tell you what's up. And now the doctor starts talking like this, and they start to communicate in this way where, they are saying that, you need to do this, and, 3 times a day, you need to take this pill, and yeah, do you see what's going on here? It's just the way that the doctor is communicating is in a very uncertain way, in a very doubtful way. And this is what I've been seeing lately from my clients, because they don't have a framework and they are just stating as many deliverables, as many features they can. They're thinking what it is that they're going to say. Also, we have the coaching calls. And you also have X amount of hours of training. Oh, you also have these resources. And I think what's going to work for you as well is this, this, and this. And they're just coming up with all of these things on the spot. And that is the issue, that it creates a lot of ums and ems. And that just takes away from your expertise aura, so to say. And we do not want that to happen. We want to make sure that when we're in presentation and it's our time to speak, we're just delivering everything in a very concise, in a very powerful, in a very simple way, because that is a sign of expertise. Another lethal mistake that kills your expertise positioning is when you start doing this. Imagine the doctor goes now and says, oh, and you're going to take these pills because this is going to be really good for you because X, Y, and Z and ABC. You're going to do this 3 times a day because this, this, and this. And, I don't want you to do this, this, and this and to eat these foods because it's going to hurt your stomach. I've studied this for quite a while and I have 4 years doing this and I know this is going to happen to you and this is going to happen to you. You see what's going on here? Can you get that feeling? It's called over-justifying. When someone speaks to you and they start over-justifying the reasons, their statements, the things that they are telling you to do, especially coming from an expert, it devaluates them. It lowers their status. Why? Because experts do not over-justify. Some of them, they don't even give you a reason at all. They just simply tell you, hey, this is what you got and this is what you got to do. You're going to do this, 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 and this. You got it? Yes. Cool. Go to the pharmacy and do this. You see? Every time you over-justify or you justify too much, you start losing expert status or expert positioning. So just simply don't do that. I'm going to tell you exactly how you can prevent this from happening in a second. But before we do, there's one last lethal mistake that is very, very important that you eradicate from your presentations, which is the following. Imagine the doctor now speaking like this. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this pill. I'm going to give you a prescription. You're going to take it like 3 times a day because you really want to fix this, right? You really want to solve this pain, right? Yes. Okay. And you are eating these foods, right? Yes. So, okay. So then you're going to stop eating that. Yeah. Yeah. Do you see what's going on here? Can you guess what's going on here? Put in the chat so I know whether you catch it or not. It's called upward inflection used in statements. Upward inflection is when we do blah, 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 blah. La 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 la, or when we say the word right at the end, we say right. Upward inflection tonality is typically what we use when we ask a question, not when we say a statement. The reason why we ask a question is because we are uncertain. Hey, can I ask you for directions? You see? That's the natural sound of a question. So when someone is asking a question, it's because they don't know. So if you create this effect in your statements, it's creating massive amounts of uncertainty, almost like you are not sure about what you are saying. That's what they perceive on the other side. What we need to do instead is do downward inflections. So you're going to do 3 pills 3 times a week. It's 3 times a week. It's not, you're going to do 3 pills 3 times a week. It's not that. So what is the new way and why it's so powerful? It's very simple. It's just literally the opposite of what I've just described. Number 1, we don't overwhelm them. It's like, you want a coffee? Cool. Here's your coffee. Enjoy. Number 2 is shorter. Number 3, no ums and ems. It's communicated clearly. Number 4, we don't over-justify. That's why we have a framework. We know exactly what we're going to say. Number 5, we never use upward inflection tone in our statements. And remember, before we dive in, the whole purpose of this is display and project expertise, deploy clarity, and with that, certainty will come. They will feel certain, which is ultimately what we need so that they can associate all these benefits and this good feeling to our solution. So let's see exactly how do we do this implementing this framework. This is the most important part, one of the most important parts, because without this, we cannot move forward. Through this process, we're going to be painting a bridge, a visual image that they're going to be able to see, they're going to be able to understand, and what's going to generate in them is going to generate this feeling of certainty that they can do it. Because if they can see it, if they can understand it, if they can see themselves walking through the bridge, going from point A to point B, they're going to feel excited, they're going to feel certain, they're going to go, yeah, this is exactly what I'm after. This is exactly what I need. Okay, so how do we do that? Very simple. These are the 3 sections of the framework I want to share with you in this video. Number 1, I call it expectations. Number 2, I call it the roadmap. Number 3, I call it the support. The first thing that I say is, cool, I like to always start with the outcome in mind. So you always know, what are we optimizing for? You can say something like this. I always like to start with the outcome in mind, so you know what it is that we're optimizing for. You can say that, or you can say something along the lines of, I always like to start with the outcome in mind, so you know what purpose every single step is serving. Something like that. And then instead of the expectations, outcome and expectations, essentially what you're going to do is you're going to set the expectations. You're going to explain how long it is. You're going to explain what they can expect. That's it. For example, the program is 3 months, and the goal is that by the end of the 3 months, you already have the skill, you're already monetizing your skills, making an average of $3,000 to $4,000. As an average, you can do more, but that's kind of like the expectation. Does that make sense? Yes. Cool. Done. Another example, let's say a dating offer. Okay, so it's going to be 3 months program, And the goal is that by the end of the 3 months, you are in this place where you feel this way, you can do this, you can do that at any time, at any moment with any woman. It's just like one strong sentence that you just write, you create, you test, and then you see the response of the market, and the ones that are more excited, when you say the sentences that gets them more excited, that's the one you keep. Very, very simple. We said that we explained the timelines and the expectation. This is especially very powerful for info business, coaching offers, consulting offers. Because in the coaching space, in the consulting space, the education space, like we're selling education, is very intangible. So what I want to do is, through this process, by creating a visual bridge, what we're doing is we're creating tangibility. They can see a structure, they can see the packaging, they almost can touch it. And it all starts with setting the outcome and expectations. Once we've done that, the way you transition into the roadmap, you just simply say, cool, but how do we do that? You just say that. 3 months, getting you to this place, or the idea or the goals that you are at this place, in this situation, feeling this way, doing this. Does that make sense? Yes. Cool. So the question is, how do we get you there? Or how do we do that? Or how do we help you get there? And then you say, we have a process for it, and I'm going to walk you through it. Ready? Ready. And now we start getting into the roadmap. And the roadmap is going to be very, very simple. Essentially, what we're going to do is we're going to walk them through. You can do this by screen share, or you can make them take notes. We're going to walk them through phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. Always create a roadmap that has 3 phases. Even if your process has 4 or 5 phases, just simplify it. So then you go, cool. So we have a process for it. I'm going to walk you through it. Phase 1 is called blank. And then we just give a name to phase 1. And they just write the name. And then you just explain in a very concise and powerful way what is the idea of phase 1. That's it. So for example, let's say we are selling cybersecurity. We're helping someone become a cybersecurity expert. So phase 1 is minimum viable skills. That could be one. Again, minimum viable skills. You can say, I want you to write MVS. That's phase 1. I mean, once you're done. That stands for minimum viable skills. Or you can say your certification. Blah, blah, blah. Or security certification. Cool. Let me know once you're done. I'm done. Cool. So what we're going to do here is going to be 30 to 60 days for you to get certified, while you put about 10 hours a week of study. That's all it is. And what that's going to allow us to do is that now, after 30 to 60 days, you're going to be in a place where you're going to know exactly what are the main threats in this industry, how to identify and how to fix it really quick. Okay, so it's just the skill. This is exactly what these companies are looking for when they're looking for cybersecurity experts. So we're going to go with the 5 most common, and you're going to know how to solve it, how to identify with full confidence. Does that make sense? Yes. That's it. We're simply communicating the idea. You don't need to explain them. What are these issues? How are we going to train you? We're going to do a lot of role, but you don't need to over justify yourself. Remember, just like this is what we're going to do in phase 1. So that's phase 1. You with me? Yes. Now let's go into phase 2. Now we just explain phase 2. That's it. So phase 2 now, because you have this minimum viable skill level, now we know you're ready to get into market. You don't need to be perfect. Now you're ready to start charging at least anywhere between $5,000 to $8,000 for these solutions, especially for companies that they don't have any protection. They don't have any cybersecurity expert, and they're actually looking for them. So this is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to teach you where do you find these companies and how do you vet these companies to make sure that you can not only help them, but you can earn the amount of money you want to make. And we're going to walk you through the entire process. So within 4 to 6 weeks, you can already have multiple offers on the table. Are you with me so far? Yes. On top of us teaching you how to fish, we're also going to give you fish, because we have a big network of companies that are constantly asking us for cybersecurity experts. So you're going to have access to a job board as well. Does that make sense? Yes. Perfect. Done. Easy, short, punchy, clear. We do the same with phase 3. Same process. This is very short. The whole thing is going to take you no more than 9 minutes, 9 or 8 minutes, okay? 8 to 9 minutes. If you go more than that, explaining the outcome and the expectations, the roadmap and the support, you're talking too much. Okay, we need to simplify more. So we explain the roadmap. Boom, this is exactly what we got here. Very simple. Once they got it, now we move into the support. Now we go something along the lines of, we're going to go, cool, awesome. Those are the 3 phases. Now let's break down how we support you during this roadmap. And it's very simple. It's going to be training. Number 2 is going to be the coaching. And number 3 is going to be the accountability. For example, It doesn't matter how many deliverables you have. What I want you to do is I want you to simplify to 3 categories. Not 3 deliverables, 3 categories. So for example, you might have coaching here. Okay. Coaching is a category. Training is a category, because that prevents this feature syndrome that you're just like spitting a lot of features. We don't want to do that. Just explain them the category. So training, coaching, and accountability, and just have them write it down. Let me know once you're done. Yes. Okay, cool. Training is very simple. Like we just have our entire certification online program. You just have to go through. You can go at your pace. It's pretty self-explanatory, right? Yes. The coaching is everything that has to do with the support. Is every time you have a question, the coaching calls, the one-on-one private chat, and everything. So every time you have a question, every time you need support, there's always a way to help you. You see? We're just communicating the idea of the coaching. We don't need to say, oh, you have 3 coaching calls per week. You don't need to say that. You don't need to say you have a one-on-one private chat that is 24/7 available. You don't have to say all of that. You just communicate the categories. And by the way, it doesn't have to be training, coaching, accountability. It can be training, coaching, and community. It can be, we're talking about coaching, consulting, info products. So there's always going to be an element of education and support and guidance. So that's why 1 and 2 is always going to be training and coaching, most likely. And the one we're going to always change is the 3rd, depending on the offer. So it's a fitness offer. Accountability is great. If it's something where people are just looking for a community, then we're going to put here community. If it's something where people are looking for done for you element, then here we can put like done for you templates, but just 3 elements of support that are the most suitable and the most relevant for the person that you have in front of you. So you might have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 different categories. If you have a very, very complete product you're selling, you might have 6 different categories: training, coaching, accountability. We have community as well. We have like in-person events. You might have all of these, but you're going to pick the 3 most relevant. That is the key. And that is it. That is your presentation part. Like, it's the outcome and expectations, is the roadmap, is the support, and your turn of you talking is done. It's pretty much done. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to show you an example of all of this in place so that you can see a real call that actually turns into a close, and you can see how it's done. And by the way, this is a client that I'm helping with. It's not an offer that I've done like, I don't know, like 200 calls or anything. This is me helping my client, helping them dial in the sales process. So you're going to see a lot of things that are not perfect. As long as you have the clarity on the structure, it's going to come out much, much, much more potent and powerful compared to the old way. So let's get into the example. When you're ready with something to take notes, just let me know and I'll walk you through it.
I'm ready. Got my pen and pad.
All right, let's do it. So the first thing, if you're going to write down notes, the first thing is getting clarity on the timelines and what should we expect from this. So number 1 is 3 months. And the expectation, I always say the same, is all about putting yourself in a place of control and abundance. Because with control and abundance and you being able to tap into the best version of yourself, your masculinity, your alpha frame, your best self, the rest comes smoothly. The rest is just a natural consequence of you actually working on that. When we talk about control and abundance, we're not only talking about internal, how you feel about yourself when you wake up every single day, when you look at yourself at the mirror, but also with females, like you feeling constantly, because at the end of the day, it's a skill. Once you internalize that, it becomes part of your identity. You being in a position where anytime, any situation, any girl, you have absolutely no problem with interacting, approaching, handling any kind of interactions. And through that process, you expand your network, you are in an abundance place that gives you the control part you can choose because people come to you. Okay, now the question is, how do we do that? Well, we have a 3-phase process that we walk you guys through, and everything is kind of like customized based on what you need the most, but we're going to work on these 3 phases, okay, just so you know. And by the way, everybody goes at their own rhythm, everybody has their own times, but this is kind of like the overview of the journey, what you're going to go through, right? Phase number 1 is what we call the inner work, the internal work. And as I walk you through these, you're going to see how all of this is tied together in kind of like a sequence. Like phase 2 doesn't work if phase 1 is dialed in, and phase 3 doesn't make any sense if phase 2 if phase 2 is not dialed in. It's kind of like we're building a house from the foundation, right? So here in the internal work, we're going to tap into, the NLP part of what Mark does, which is your limiting beliefs, conscious things or unconscious things that he's going to be able to bring awareness, and you're going to be able to work on that. Beliefs, self-worth, standards. You were talking about boundaries. We're going to tap into that. Where's that coming from? What caused that? How do we fix it? All that kind of like NLP programming is going to be tremendously helpful for you. And then everything in regards to your masculinity, your alpha frame, how to tap into that, how to nurture that, etc. Okay, so we're going to work on that. It's not like a one-off thing. We're going to put you in a minimum viable baseline so that then we can move you into phase 2. But that is kind of like ongoing thing that never ends. All right. So that's phase 1. Once we got you to that minimum baseline, now we start with phase 2. Phase 2, we call it opportunities. When we say opportunities, we're talking about volume and quality. So now from that place where we now have the glass full, or it doesn't have to be overflowing, because again, it's an ongoing process. You have to take action regardless. Okay. But now we're in a place where we can actually, we have a minimum viable level of self-worth, masculinity, alpha frame. Then we start taking action. First, we're going to go through volume and then through quality. If you already have volume based on where you are right now, then we'll start directly focus on quality. But essentially is doing the things that we need to do to put yourself in a position where you start to have more volume, okay, more interactions, and then from there the quality will come naturally, okay. When we talk about opportunities, we're talking about cold approach, interactions, and or existing interactions that right now are kind of like frozen there. All right, so that's where your texting game comes into place, online dating, and then anything that you already got going on that you kind of like want to restart or kind of like reconnect, whatever that might be. You follow me so far?
Absolutely.
Cool. Phase 3, very simple, is the dating game. Okay, phase 3, as you can see, is just we're building the house from the foundation. As we got more volume, as we got more quality, dates are going to naturally come our way. But the dating game also has a specific process, right? We need to know exactly what it is, what is Mark's framework, and what needs to happen every single step of the way. Here's where what you were talking about comes into place in terms of like being able to read the red flags, understand the green flags, understand kind of like how far can you go. And most importantly, like, again, we're all going to make mistakes. It's part of the game, is how we build ourselves, is understanding interactions, understanding tells, understanding body language, what's going to give us the learning, the growth. And each time we're going to be in a more powerful position in that sense. Okay, so internal work, opportunities, and then the dating part aspect of it. Okay, that's kind of like the 3 main pillars. Now, in terms of how we support you during this roadmap, so to say, inside of the coaching program, there are 3 main pillars that you're going to leverage. Okay, the first one is the training. There's trainings for each phase. Essentially, is the curriculum that we send prior to the meeting, and you're going to start diving into not only the psychological part, but also the strategies, the techniques, and how that actually plays out in communication. Okay, all of that is just lessons. You have access to it. You can rewatch them, etc. Number 2 is the coaching part. Okay, so here's the interactions not only with Mark itself when you're working directly with him, but also with the rest of the team members and the people in the community as well. So I'm talking about the coaching calls, the email, the one-on-one email access you have to Mark, and the Facebook group as well, the private Facebook group. Okay, so there's multiple ways for you to actually interact and get feedback and support. And then the 3rd pillar is the community, the brotherhood. I have this saying that I love, which is environment always overcomes will. Willpower is great, it's necessary, but you mentioned you're a leader, you have a team under you, and you know better than anyone that if you have a toxic environment, even your best guy is going to have a very, very hard time to keep up. While if the environment is where it needs to be, the environment kind of like does the heavy lifting and they just naturally thrive.
100%.
But if so, that's the opportunity you have with the Brotherhood, because this game between you and I, it is a pretty lonely game if you don't have people in the exact same journey pursuing this same goal. So the mind is very tricky. Sometimes you by yourself, just with will, you have a hard time. But if you want to be held accountable and you want to use this as a true brotherhood, that's where you go into the Facebook group and you say, "Hey guys, here's what happened. Here's what my mind is spinning right now. Would love some input. Would love some feedback." And then people that have already gone through that maybe are in a similar age or are already going through it as well. Boom, that's where the environment sort of like kicks in, and you know, it's just smoother. It's just much better than having to deal with all of that on your own. Yeah,
makes sense. Yeah,
those are the three pillars, and honestly, that's pretty much it. You know, it doesn't have to be that complicated. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, because again, it's all about facing you and facing your demons.
Yeah.
That's all that's required for you to go from where you are right now, learn the skills, find yourself, and get to that place where you are in a position of power, abundance, control, and you're naturally attractive, not only to women, but in general, you know, any human being, just because how you project yourself. And then the rest kind of like goes from there. This is the most powerful way I know to be able to articulate your offer from a place of expertise, delivering massive amount of clarity, but most importantly, injecting certainty, making the person feel this is the right thing, this is what I'm looking for, and making the person feel excited. But this is not the entire presentation phase. This is very, very important, but this is the first part of presentation. The way I train presentation is in two parts: the bridge part, and then we have the temperature check part. So if you want to see the second part, simply like this video, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, and just simply comment down below part 2.